Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the breakfast news on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this morning's headlines. Prime Minister asks top central and state officials to study latest World Bank report on ease of doing business, seeks report in 1 month on areas requiring reforms and improvement. Markets regulator SEBI looking into possible breach of corporate governance norms in high-profile Tata Mystery case. Ousted chairman Cyrus Mistry warns Tata Sons board of 1.18 lakh crore rupees write-downs from unprofitable businesses. Navy on alert as cyclone Kyant gets set to hit the east coast. Fishermen asked not to venture into the sea. Heavy rains likely in Andhra, West Bengal and Odisha. Over 20 children among several people killed in airstrikes on rebel-held village in Syria. Not immediately clear if the raids were carried out by Syrian government or Russian warplanes. And New Zealand beat India by 19 runs in the Ranchi One-Day International Level 5 match series 2-2. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asked top officials at the centre and the state to study the latest World Bank report on ease of doing business in India. India climbed a disappointing one spot to 130 out of 190 nations on the list. The Prime Minister asked officials to analyse areas requiring reforms and improvement. During his monthly meeting of Pragati or proactive governance and timely implementation, where he interacts directly with top officials of states to discuss implementation of programs and schemes, the Prime Minister sought a report regarding it in a month's time. The Prime Minister's office in a statement after the meeting said, mentioning the World Bank's latest report on ease of doing business, the Prime Minister asked all Chief Secretaries and all Secretaries of the Government of India to study the report and analyse the potential areas where there is scope for improvement in their respective departments and states. Commerce and Industry Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that the World Bank report has not adequately captured efforts and reforms undertaken by the centre and states. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the presentation of the Union budget is being advanced by about a month to ensure speedier implementation of the schemes. Now, the Prime Minister has also urged states to align their plans with this move to take the maximum advantage. Now, as per the traditional practice, the Union budget has been presented in Parliament on the last day of February. The Cabinet had last month decided to advance it by a month with a view to get all the legislative approvals for the annual spending and tax proposals before the beginning of the new financial year on April 1st. Accordingly, the budget session of Parliament, which is usually convened in the last week of February, will now be called in January. Early presentation of the budget would mean that the entire exercise is over by March 31st and expenditure as well as tax proposals come into effect right from the beginning of the new fiscal, thereby ensuring better implementation. India and New Zealand moved towards closer understanding on the issue of India's membership to the nuclear suppliers group and combating terrorism. Both countries also made headway on economic cooperation and a free trade agreement. Bilateral talks between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the visiting New Zealand counterpart John Key also resulted in addressing defence-related concerns of both the countries in the Asia-Pacific region.
India's entry into the nuclear suppliers group featured prominently in the talks between the two prime ministers. In the last NSG plenary in Seoul, New Zealand expressed reservations on India's non-NPT status. But after a positive meeting with Modi, the New Zealand Premier said it will constructively engage on India's membership and also work to secure support from other member countries.
We are thankful for New Zealand's support to India joining a reform UN Security Council as a permanent member. As we make our own contribution to the development efforts of the Pacific Island countries, We will continue to consult closely with New Zealand and to complement and supplement each other's effort. I am also thankful to Prime Minister Key for New Zealand's constructive approach to the consideration of India's membership of the Nuclear Supply Group.
We had a detailed conversation about India's application to become a member of the Nuclear Suppliers Group. I acknowledged the importance to India of it joining the NSG. I also stated that New Zealand would continue to contribute constructively to the process currently underway in the NSG to consider India's membership. New Zealand is committed to working with the NSG members to reach a decision and as soon as possible.
Terrorism and cross-border terror also figured in the talks. Both countries agreed to cooperate on sharing intelligence and cybersecurity to stop radicalization of youth.
Terrorism remains one of the greatest challenges to global peace and security. Today, the financial, logistical, and information networks of terror span the entire globe. The barriers of geography do not safeguard against the threat of radicalization and terrorism. Nations who believe in humanity need to coordinate their actions and policies to counter this threat.
In trade and business, 3 MOUs were signed to avoid double taxation and ensure safety and standard arrangements in food processing. Another document dealt with increasing cooperation in youth exchange and sports activities. New Zealand supports India's candidature as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. But to create convergence on other issues of cooperation, consultations between foreign ministers and senior officials will be increased.
Both the Prime Minister have agreed to address the interest of each other's countries. It will be interesting to see how quickly it takes place. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person Sanjay Kumar in Delhi.
And in other news now, Information and Broadcasting Minister Venkaiah Naidu has said that the Uniform Civil Code will not be brought through the back door or without a broad consensus. Naidu also rejected the charge that the BJP was bringing up contentious issues to polarize the upcoming elections, especially in Uttar Pradesh. He said issues like Triple Talaq, Civil Code and Ram Temple will not be used for political mileage in the elections but will be fought on development agenda. Naidu said crucial issues should not be used for electoral benefit, rejecting opposition criticism that the surgical strikes were being politicized.
Let the BSP, SP and the Congress come clean because they are all partners of the UPA. What is their stand on abolition of Triple Talaq? Triple Talaq is not a communal issue, not a religious issue. It's an issue of gender justice. It's an issue of ending gender discrimination. It's an issue of equality before law, which are guaranteed by Article 14 and Article 15 of the Constitution. I said it earlier in Hyderabad, I am repeating it again for sake of those people who are not able to understand it. And unnecessarily bringing in Pradhan Mantri ko बारे में आलोचना करना, राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ का नाम लाना, ये क्या तरीका है? आप बताओ ना, आपका स्टैंड क्या है? आप महिलाओं के साथ न्याय करना चाहते हैं, अन्याय करना चाहते हैं?
Well, ousted Tata chairman Cyrus Mistry lashed out at Tata board members, levelling a series of allegations against Ratan Tata and said that he was pushed into a position of a lame duck. Meanwhile, key Tata Group firms lost over 10,000 crore rupees in the share market for the second day on Wednesday, extending the total erosion in the market capitalization to more than 21,000 crore rupees in 2 days. Now, market regulator SEBI is looking into whether there has been any possible breach of corporate governance norms and listing regulators in the companies of the conglomerate.
Market regulators SEBI and leading stock exchanges BSE and NSE have asked 6 Tata companies for a clarification after SAC chairman Cyrus Mistry wrote to board members warning that the group faces a write-down of about 1.18 lakh crore rupees due to investments in unprofitable businesses. The exchanges have asked companies including Tata Motors, Tata Steel and Tata Teleservices to provide full details about the financial and corporate lapses mentioned in the email by former chairman Cyrus Mistry. In an explosive confidential 5-page email to Tata Sons board members, Mistry said he inherited a debt-laden enterprise saddled with losses and singled out 5 Tata companies as legacy hotspots. Mistry also leveled a series of allegations against Ratan Tata and contended that he was pushed into a position of a lame duck chairman, and changes in decision-making process created alternate power centers in Tata Group. Mistry also accused Tata board members of replacing him as chairman without any explanation and without giving him an opportunity to defend himself. Mistry also flagged ethical concerns in Tata Group's aviation joint venture with AirAsia. Mistry alleged that forensic investigation revealed fraudulent transactions of 22 crore involving non-existing entities in India and Singapore. Mistry also alleged that due to Ratan Tata's passion for aviation, Tata Sons board increased capital infusion in the aviation sector at multiple levels of the initial commitment. Highlighting Tata's pet car project Nano, Mistry said that the product development concept called for a car below 1 lakh rupees, but the costs were always above this and it had consistently lost money, peaking at 1,000 crore rupees. Cyrus Mistry was sacked as group chairman on Monday and former chairman Ratan Tata was given charge as interim chairman. While there was no official reason given for the change of leadership, experts believe that Tata Sons was unhappy with Mistry's approach of shedding non-profit businesses. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on, now multiple ceasefire violations were reported along the international border and line of control that left a BSF Jawan and 11 civilians injured in Jammu and Kashmir. Meanwhile, the state administration and centre issued an advisory to evacuate villagers from areas adjacent to the international border. Yasmo.
Repeated ceasefire violations by Pakistan left a BSF Jawan and 11 civilians injured in the RSTV sector of Jammu and Kashmir. Heavy exchange of gunfire is underway between the BSF and Pakistani Rangers.
6 सदस्य जो एक ही परिवार के ये ऑन स्पॉट ही जख्मी हो गए थे और एक परिवार का एक आदमी उसके 1 घंटे बाद वो जख्मी हो गया था। तो ये मैं समझता हूँ कि ये पूरी पंचायत में तकरीबन 11 जो सदस्य हैं ये इंजर हुए हैं।
पाकिस्तान बुखलाया हुआ है और जो दुनिया में उसका जो है खिल्ली उड़ी है उसको जो इसकी भरपाई के लिए वो कोशिश कर रहा है कि किस तरीके से ये दुनिया को ये मैसेज दे पे नहीं हम भी हैं अभी हैं, लेकिन जिस तरीके से वो कर रहे हैं उससे दुगनी ताकत से जो है हमारी तरफ से उनको जवाब मिल रहा है, उनको भी बहुत नुकसान हो रहा है।
Pakistani posts also targeted civilian areas in Saikalan, Burejal, Trewa and Arnia. In the light of the situation, the Kashmir government issued an advisory to shut down all educational institutions near the international border. Security forces are helping villagers to migrate to safer locations.
अभी कुछ दिन पहले से जो है बॉर्डर और LOC में टेंशन काफ़ी ज़्यादा चल रही है। जहाँ जहाँ कुछ विलेजेस हैं वहाँ पर डिप्टी कमिश्नर साहब ने जो है स्कूल्स जो हैं वो बंद करने के भी आदेश दिए गए हैं। बल्कि अगर वहाँ पर देखते हैं कि इंटेंसिटी फायर की कितनी है, अकॉर्डिंगली अगर हमें ज़रूरत पड़ती है तो हम वहाँ से इनको इवैक्यूएट करके तो यहाँ पर जो सेफ कैंप एरियाज़ हैं वो हमने आइडेंटिफाई किए, वहाँ पर उनको हम बिठाएंगे।
कि हमारी सेनाएं और अर्ध सेना दल हर प्रकार से सक्षम है, हर प्रकार की चुनौती का सामना करने के लिए और कर भी रहे हैं। बड़ी बखूबी तौर पर वो उचित कार्रवाई कर रहे हैं और सबसे बड़ी संतोषजनक बात यह है कि सीमाओं पर रहने वाले हमारे लोगों का और देशवासियों का मनोबल बड़े ऊंचे स्तर का है।
Meanwhile, the central government said that Pakistan now stood exposed after terror group Lashkar-e-Taiba claimed responsibility for the Uri terror attack. Union Minister Rajya Singh Rathod said the claim assumes significance in the face of the Pakistani government's constant denial.
हिंदुस्तान हमेशा जब भी अपना केस दुनिया के सामने रखता है तो पूरे के पूरे एविडेंस के साथ, प्रूफ के साथ रखता है और हिंदुस्तान का जो विश्वास है दुनिया में वो बहुत ऊंचा है। बाकी लोग उसको मना करते रहे, उससे हिंदुस्तान के केस कमज़ोर नहीं होता।
In the Kashmir Valley, a delegation led by senior BJP leader Yashwant Sinha continued its meeting with stakeholders to end the 4-month-long impasse. Sinha met traders at the Kashmir Chamber of Commerce and Industry on Wednesday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello, I am Ishan Russell.
I'm Tracy Shilchi and you're watching News Tonight.
together with the team of our
dedicated professionals from across various fields.
This is Shyam Sundar,
Vishal Dahiya,
Akhilesh Suman,
Frank Pereira from Beijing, China.
Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television. We bring to you
the news that matters here on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, with the cyclonic storm Kyant formed by deep depression getting intensified over the east central Bay of Bengal and slowly moving towards the southwest, the IMD on Wednesday has issued fresh warnings to fishermen asking them not to venture into sea. The cyclone is likely to hit southern coastal Andhra Pradesh by October 29th. Apart from Andhra Pradesh, heavy rain is likely to lash several parts of West Bengal, including Kolkata and coastal Odisha. Meanwhile, over 5,000 personnel of the Indian Navy have been put on alert with ships and divers, doctors, inflatable rubber boats, integral helicopters and relief material.
The cyclone is laying over East Central Bay, south-southeastwards of Visakhapatnam, about 630 kilometers from Visakhapatnam, and north-northeast 830 kilometers of Machilipatnam. Means in the sea it is in between Machilipatnam and Visakhapatnam. And tomorrow it is likely to move south-southwestwards towards the Nellore coast region, that is the coastal AP. So by 29th it may affect the south coastal AP. So under this influence, South coastal AP region near Nellore, Ongole and surrounding regions may experience light to moderate rains and 1 or 2 spells of heavy rain.
Now to Uttar Pradesh, where sackings continued in the Samajwadi Party as State Party President Shivpal Yadav dismissed a junior minister from the party for 6 years. He also wrote to Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav to drop him from the cabinet as well. Akhilesh, on the other hand, met Governor Ram Nayak to brief him about the situation within the party and his government.
Amid the unfolding family drama within the Samajwadi Party, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav on Wednesday met Governor Ram Nayak. While the meeting triggered much speculation in political circles, party leaders claimed there was no dispute.
नेताजी ने कल कह ही दिया, कोई विवाद नहीं है, परिवार में कोई विवाद नहीं है, पार्टी में कोई विवाद नहीं है, सब एक हैं.
Raj Bhavan sources said Akhilesh briefed the governor on the prevailing political situation in the state. There was also talks that the chief minister's visit might have been in connection with the 4 vacancies in the cabinet. These were caused on Sunday when Akhilesh sacked his uncle Shivpal Yadav, Om Prakash Singh, Narad Rai and Saida Shadab Fatima from the government. On Wednesday, Samajwadi Party chief Shivpal Yadav expelled Tej Narayan Pandey, a junior minister from the party.
जो भी अनुशासनहीनता करेगा, गुंडाही करेगा, नंबर 2 के काम करेगा, कब्जा करेंगे, ऐसे लोग समाजवादी पार्टी में नहीं रह सकते.
Pandey, however, claimed that the charges against him were baseless.
यासुक मलिक ने झूठे और निराधार आरोप लगाए. उनकी बात एकदम झूठी और निराधार है. माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के आवास पर कहीं कोई मारपीट, कोई बवाल नहीं हुआ किसी तरह का, और माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के सुरक्षा अधिकारी ने इसका बयान भी दिया कि मुख्यमंत्री आवास पर कहीं कोई इस तरह की घटना नहीं हुई.
Other political parties said the situation called for the imposition of president's rule in the state.
अब ये वार जो चल रहा है वो थमने वाला नहीं. ऐसी स्थिति में उत्तर प्रदेश की सरकार को भंग कर देना चाहिए. सारा कुछ काम ठप पड़ा हुआ है. विकास का काम पूरी तरह से ठप हो गया. जो पार्टी अभी तक नंबर 1 थी, अब वो 3 में रह गई.
ये गेनर कौन होगा ये तो पता नहीं, कि लूजर जरूर उत्तर प्रदेश की जनता है. नुकसान सबसे ज्यादा उत्तर प्रदेश की जनता को इन 5 वर्षों में हुआ है. उत्तर प्रदेश के लोगों ने जो जनादेश दिया था, विकास के लिए दिया था, जनादेश दिया था, गुंडा राज खत्म करने के लिए, अराजकता के लिए दिया था, लेकिन पूरे 5 सालों में अराजक तत्वों ने उत्तर प्रदेश की सरकार को हाईजैक कर रखा था.
Speculation about the chief minister's meeting with the governor centered around whether the Raj Bhavan had sought a list of MLAs to ensure that the government still enjoyed a majority in the assembly. But sources denied this, stating that the governor had neither sought such a list nor was any document handed over to him. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on to some international news now. Two strong earthquakes rocked a wide area of central Italy on Wednesday, striking fear among residents rattled by a deadly tremor of August. The two quakes, which struck about 2 hours apart from each other, caused the collapse of several old structures, including a number of historic rural churches that were empty at the time. At least 3 people have been reported injured in the quakes. According to the US Geological Survey, the first measure magnitude of 5.5 and the second of 6.1. In both cases, the epicenter was near the village of Viso in the central Marche region. Electrical power was lost in some of the areas and some roads were closed. Firefighters cordoned off parts of the affected areas and inspected the damage as emergency workers treated local residents in need of medical care. Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi cancelled engagements to follow developments. Large-scale fires have cleared out the last of the people living in the Calais migrant camp in France. It came on the third day of operations by French authorities to remove the camp's inhabitants and demolish its structures. The fires burning the camp to the ground are a definitive end to the Calais jungle. But what is uncertain is the future of the people who lived here, especially those of several children.
Fire raging through the Calais migrant camps in France that firefighters are struggling to extinguish. Dozens of makeshift shelters were allegedly torched by disgruntled migrants as they were forced to vacate as demolition teams started tearing their camps down.
Yes, my tent is fired, this jacket have a fracture, my family all is fired. My fever is the headache, he fired.
The Calais migrant camps that have been called jungle have become a wretched symbol of Europe's migrant crisis. France tried to shut it down several times only to be denied by the courts. The area is strategic as it sits some 30 miles across the Eurotunnel to the UK, one of the more desirable countries for refugees in the region. Migrants have long refused to leave the camp, but since the start of the week, French authorities have been busing thousands of people to shelters and centres where they will be able to take asylum.
Notre mission est remplie. Nous avons fait le tour ce matin. Il n'y a plus de migrants au sein du camp de la Lande. Nous avons d'ores et déjà, au moment où je vous parle, dépassé les 5000 personnes qui ont été accueillies au SAS. Nous allons encore bien sûr continuer toute la journée jusqu'à ce soir tant que nous aurons un migrant.
While France says that the area has been cleared of all the migrants, scores of unaccompanied children remain unaccounted for. While close to 1,200 children were either transferred to the UK or sent to the container site, charities say about 100 children remained there without adequate safeguards. In London, demonstrators called on Britain to help children caught up in the camp's demolition.
Not even a plan clearly established that's been shared with anyone as to what will happen to them, because in any other country they would go into some sort of foster care. But I don't believe that 1,000 foster care options have been created or any places for them to live long term.
Demolition at the camps will be speeded up today with larger machinery moving in. French authorities say that they have relocated 5,600 migrants already. However, many refugees have refused to be settled in France and have run away to their chances on the streets of Calais. Many are still clinging on to hope that they will make it to Britain. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, let's now get you a roundup of the other international news in World Wrap. More than 20 people have been injured and 39 detained during anti-government protests in Venezuela. Hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets to protest against President Nicolas Maduro's government. It came after a recall referendum process. An attempt to remove Maduro from power was suspended. Protesters clashed with security forces across the country, particularly in the western cities of San Cristobal and Maracaibo. A senior Al-Qaeda leader has been targeted by a U.S. drone strike in northeastern Afghanistan. Farouk al-Khatani, the group's leader in the area, is believed to have been killed. The strikes in Kumar province have not been publicly confirmed and the results are still being assessed. Al-Qaeda was on a U.S. list of most wanted terrorists. He has been accused of involvement in plots targeting Europe and the U.S. Airstrikes by Syrian or Russian warplanes on Wednesday killed at least 26 people, most of them school children, in a village in Syria's rebel-held Idlib province. The raids hit a residential area and a school in Hars village. UNICEF called the strikes a tragedy and a war crime. Idlib, which is in northwest Syria near Aleppo, contains the largest populated area controlled by rebels. The United Nations has said that more than 10,000 Iraqis have fled their homes since the start of an offensive to retake Mosul from the Islamic State group. The aid community has been scrambling to build camps on the edges of the Mosul battlefield, where Iraqi forces are closing in on jihadists from the north, east and south. Aid groups expect hundreds of thousands more people to flee when Iraqi forces reach the city limits. On to some sports news now, and in cricket, New Zealand levelled the 5-match ODI series 2-2 after beating India by 19 runs in the 4th ODI at Ranchi. Chasing a modest target of 261, India were all out for 241 in 48.4 overs. Opener Rohit Sharma once again fell cheaply. The pair of Ajinkya Rahane and Virat Kohli added 79 runs for the second wicket, but after the fall of Kohli on 45 and Rahane on 57, the middle order collapsed. Akshar Patel, Amit Mishra and Dhaval Kulkarni tried hard to salvage the innings, but to no avail. Earlier, after electing to bat, the visitors scored 260 for 7 in the stipulated 50 overs. Martin Guptill was the top scorer with 72 runs. Skipper Kane Williamson contributed 41. Tom Latham added 39 and Ross Taylor 35. The 5-match ODI series is now levelled to a piece. The last match of the series will be played on Saturday in Visakhapatnam.
And gone. Good catch by Virat Kohli.
When the wickets are slow, when the run rate is, that required run rate is not too high, that's where you calculate. At times you play out a few overs thinking if you have a partnership going at this point of time with more wickets in hand in the last few overs, you can look to chase down, something that's even 7.5 for a few overs, So I feel, that's where it lies as of now. And I think we have got quite a few batsmen, who can do the job. It's just that we'll have to give them more time, Batting down the order is one of the toughest things to do.
Meanwhile, in the Asian Champions Trophy, India have already sealed a semi-final berth and defeated Malaysia 2-1 in its last round-robin game on Wednesday. Rupinder Pal Singh scored through a penalty corner in the last quarter to seal the victory for India. Rupinder had earlier scored through a rebound on a penalty corner to give India a 1-0 lead. Razi Rahim of Malaysia scored through a penalty corner to make the score 1-1 in the first half. South Korea has also reached the semi-finals, beating Japan 4-3. The semi-final lineup will only be decided after the last bunch of round-robin games on Thursday. Well, that's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a good day.